How to control your emotions. To begin with, it's crucial to understand that emotions arise and dissipate. You might be happy one moment and upset the next. You can somewhat control your emotions, but their unpredictability must be acknowledged. If you expect to always be happy, you'll quickly be disappointed because when it doesn't work out, you'll start blaming yourself. To control your emotions, accept the fact that they change. Let them go. Don't identify yourself with them. Allow yourself to feel sadness without asking, "What's wrong with me?" Instead, let reality just be. No matter how emotionally resilient you are, you'll still experience sadness or feel low at times. Insecurities, resentment, and shame will occasionally surface. Again, emotions arise and fade away. Managing negative emotions. You might blame yourself for negative emotions or see them as a sign of weakness. But your emotions are not inherently bad. They are just emotions. No more, no less. Feeling down doesn't make you worse than the happiness you felt 3 weeks ago. Sadness doesn't mean you'll never laugh again. Remember, suffering isn't caused by the emotions themselves, but by how you perceive them. Negative emotions can be helpful. Sometimes you need to hit rock bottom to resurface. Emotions don't arise to make your life harder. They have something to communicate. Without them, you can't grow. In terms of sensation, negative emotions are equivalent to physical pain. Physical pain sends a powerful signal of malfunction in the body and prompts you to take action. Without pain, you wouldn't know about it. The situation could worsen and lead to premature death. Emotions work the same way. They signal that something needs to be done in a complex situation. Maybe break up with someone, change jobs, or take a new look at the story that makes you suffer. No matter how oppressed you are, how strong the grief is, how terrible you feel, it will all pass. Remember, if you constantly experience the same emotions, it's a sign that something needs to change in your life. Negative emotions act like a filter that determines the quality of your life. Although the world around remains the same, you perceive it completely differently because feelings change. For example, during depression, you are not pleased with food or movies. You don't want to do anything. And in a good mood, everything around seems wonderful. Food becomes tasty, you are friendly, and even everyday tasks bring real pleasure. Interestingly, external circumstances are not the main reason for changing emotional states. You may find yourself in the same situation, at the same job, with the same amount of money in your account and the same problems, but you feel completely different. Look back. Surely this has happened in the past. During emotional stress, the environment does not change. Only your inner dialogue changes. An emotion usually represents an intensified, charged thought form. Because of its overheated energy charge, it is difficult for us to remain in the present to observe it. Negative emotions are like a spell. As long as you are under their power, it is almost impossible to break free. You understand that constantly spinning the same thoughts in your head is useless, but you cannot get out of the flow. Emotions act like magnets. They attract thoughts of the same wave. That's why when you're in a negative state, negative thoughts come one after another, and attachment to these thoughts only exacerbates the situation. Often there is a vicious circle between thinking and emotions. They feed each other. The thought form creates an enhanced reflection of itself in the form of emotion, and the frequency of emotion vibrations nourishes the original thought form. Here's what you can do to break free from this emotional magnetism. First, get rid of the habit of grouping negative thoughts. To reduce the number of negative emotions, you need to categorize problems. Don't let your mind excessively dramatize the situation and bring unrelated problems together. Individually, most problems are not so serious, and you don't have to solve them all at once. Second, record negative emotions. Study what triggers them. The more often you do this, the easier it will be to identify patterns. For example, you've been sad for 2 days. Ask yourself a few questions. What triggered my emotions? What sustained them over the past 2 days? What story was I telling myself? How and why did I manage to get out of this state? What can I learn from this situation? The answers to these questions will be invaluable to you. They will help you deal with similar problems in the future. Third, don't make unnatural efforts. The mind generates thoughts that match your emotional state. The opposite is also true. Your mind cannot think thoughts that contradict your feelings at any given moment. Even if you try to think positively, your mind will not respond to these attempts. Therefore, positive thinking will not help you improve your emotional state during depression. Fourth, separate mental suffering from negative emotions. How many times have you put off work for a few days or weeks, only to realize that you don't have enough time to finish it? What was the hardest part? The work itself or the time you spent worrying about it? Did insomnia torment you because of intrusive thoughts about what a hard day awaits you? Just imagine what needs to be done and you immediately felt weak and tired. Psychologists have proven that much of our energy goes into mental suffering. We cause ourselves a lot of unnecessary pain because we start to suffer every time we get stuck on unpleasant emotions. The same example of physical pain. Feeling pain, you immediately try to interpret it. In the process of interpretation, you generate negative thoughts, and identification with these thoughts generates mental suffering. Here are a few examples of such thoughts that arise in such situations. What if I can't do something more because of this pain? What if my condition worsens? What if I need surgery? What if I can't work? I have an important project that needs to be completed on time. I don't have money. How will I pay medical bills if my condition worsens? This internal dialogue makes you suffer but does not help solve the problem. In fact, you can work normally and do everything you need. Just separate your negative emotions, which will soon pass from mental suffering. It's easier to manage these processes separately. The first is sensory and perception. The second is the work of logic and reason. Why are there no problems? If you go further and look at reality objectively, you can say that in reality there are no problems. Firstly, what you are not focusing on does not exist. The problem exists only when you pay attention to it. From the point of view of reason, what you are not thinking about does not exist. Imagine you lost money. For example, your business project failed or the barn where you kept the money burned down. In fact, both situations are the same in terms of money recovery. Money cannot be returned. But we will certainly be more wound up in the first case, blame ourselves or someone or something else, suffer longer. If you accept this situation immediately and do not think about it, there will be no problems and there will be no emotional suffering with it. You will just live in reality. Secondly, the problem exists only in time. It can be in the past or future, and the past and the future are only in our minds, but not in reality. Thirdly, for a problem to exist, it must be recognized. That is, you must perceive the situation as a problem. Otherwise, this is not a problem. It's not easy to accept this idea, but it's very important. Thank you for watching another episode of Sensory Skills. Subscribe to the channel to keep up with advice on developing life skills beyond sensory, including intellectual and behavioral skills.